Here at Paper Wishes, we love to come up with fresh ideas to inspire your creative spirit.
Well, hang on. That's true, but there are plenty of us left-brain folks here at Paper Wishes that work behind the scenes. I'm Corey from accounting.
I'm Sarah from sales, and we don't use dazzles or cutting dies or paper packs.
Our craft supplies are Microsoft Excel,
Paper clips. This is jewelry by Christina San Diego.
and Post-it notes. And we wanted to come up with a webisode to prove that we can inspire your creative spirit too.
So come play with us. In today's webisode, we're featuring binder clip projects. This is binder clip dog with movable parts.
Isn't that darling? We also have binder clip Godzilla.
And binder clip snake. But you won't find instructions for these online. April Fools!
I guess now you know the truth. There's creativity all over the place. I'm not sure if it's in the water or what, but thank you, Corey, and thank you, Sarah. Good job.
But now, no fooling. We have 4 new hot off the press embossing folders, and we're going to show you lots of fun ways to use them.
So, come play with us. Well, here they are, all 4 of them. They're by Hot Off the Press, and they're under the brand Paper Artist.
And we're going to start with these 2, which are all over patterns. We have hearts and dots and simple roses. Then we have a frame, which is flower corner, and a focal, which is dandelion. Love that one.
And you can tell why we like that with Paper Wishes. Now, just like all Hot Off the Press product, there is a sample project on the back, and we're going to be showing you quite a few of those in this webisode. And by the way, you're going to see a lot of techniques, and be sure to stay tuned because at the end, there's something that's pretty amazing. Okay, so we're going to scoot these out of the way.
Get into the project.
And let's get started. Now, we're going to start with probably the simplest, don't you think?
I think so.
Which is we're just taking colored cardstock and running it through the embossing folder.
Right, and this is using one of our Artful Card kits, adding lots of die cuts on top and around. And it's just simply running it through colored cardstock through the embosser, through the embossing folder, and just having that as your or background for your focal.
Right, so it just makes a really nice, again, an all over or just right here. So that's kind of number 1.
Right.
Okay, number 2, we'll be doing the same thing except this time with white cardstock. And then as we get in really close, which John is going to magically do, you can see that each of those dots and hearts is transformed with a little bit of color.
Right. Since the hearts and dots are embossed so that they're on top of the folder, that raised image, it's easy to run an ink pad across there. And I have here my craft sheet. I have the embossed piece of cardstock that I'm showing here. And then this is the Berrylicious fluid chalk ink. So you just go ahead and take your ink pad and you just run it across the top of your image. This is a really juicy ink pad. So if you use a kind of a light touch, it would be better just to hit the tops of those. As you can see, you can hit just the image on there. If you press a little bit too hard, it'll go in between, but that's how you pick up the color on there quite easily.
So the other way you could do that, would you recommend putting like a cosmetic sponge, or is that going to get...
Well, a cosmetic sponge also will get down. You can use a brayer to hit just the top 2. This was a quick way of doing it. I think if the pad wasn't quite, I think it must have just been re-inked, then it wouldn't hit in between quite so much.
But if that happens and you don't want it, well, big deal, just do another piece of paper.
Sure.
Now, this is the same technique, except this was the red cardstock and it was hit with the white ink pad.
Right, the cotton white stays on.
Right. So that gives you yet another look. So it's really kind of neat.
This is kind of a neat one in that after that was done, then a design toolkit was laid on here to get that cutout shape.
Right.
And then it was matted on another piece. It was also cut in half so that one piece was placed up on the top.
You know
and
what?
then
Somebody's
the other on
yelling
the
at me.
bottom.
I've not opened these up. So I thank you for doing that.
Okay.
So that little flap goes up, and let me go backwards. This one, we took one little strip and just put it on the inside just to
what a
create
good
a border.
idea.
And on the first one, sorry guys, thanks for yelling. I heard you. And then another little piece inside this die cut. So
Right.
just creates a nice framework,
And,
if you will.
and an easy way to get that done is if you're going to run one through the machine, go ahead and run two at the same time. Then you don't have to go back and forth through the
Good
machine.
idea.
Use them for other things.
Okay, so this is with the hearts and dots. Now we're going to go into the simple roses. And this is another look.
It's another look. This one using distress paint. So a real simple way to do that is first you've got your cardstock. You run your cardstock through the machine. So we have a black cardstock here, and I'm going to try to tilt it so you can see that it has been embossed. Oh, you can't hardly see. Okay,
good,
but I'm going to show you
yeah.
how we will see it. You get out
Okay,
your...
there you go. You can see
There you
it now.
go. It's been embossed, so that raised image is on top of the roses. I've got the picket fence distress paint here. You shake that up, and there are two different ways of applying this, and I'm going to show you the way it was done on this card. You take
The way that Susan told us,
The way that
huh?
Susan did it on this card. It was a very effective way, and you'll get, just the roses. You go ahead and put some of the paint down on the bottom of this card. You don't want it too heavy because it'll get in between the roses. And then you just start applying it like that pretty quickly before it dries to just hit the tops of those roses. Now, you have to do this a few times. You're just going to continually be applying that paint onto those roses
So
until they
that's-
really stand out.
Okay, that's what she meant when she said to use the cardstock
Use the
to spread the
cardstock
paint.
and you're drawing the paint across the top. And really it's effective because it just hits the tops of the roses. You don't see it going down in between. Okay, now I'm going to show you another way. I am a little bit more impatient than Susan, and so if you don't mind the white getting in between a little bit, you can apply this directly on. It's got that sponge applicator, and if you just go across, you will still hit the roses. You will also hit in between a little bit. Gives you a little bit more of a vintagey look, but they do hit the roses this way if you don't mind getting it in between as well.
Okay.
So here's the two different looks you're going to get. And if you do a little bit more, it'll stand out a little bit more like you'll see on the card.
Okay, so this is Susan's version, and then you've got the impatient Gail's version. Either will work. And because this is black, you can't sand it because you're just going to get more black.
Right.
So that isn't going to work. And this is with the chalkboard papers.
That is, and looks like the design toolkit was doing it.
Yes.
I can show you how to do it with sanding if you want
wanna
to
do
see
that?
that. If you use pattern paper or cardstock that has a white core, then after you emboss it, take your sanding block and just go over the top like this. That removes, on that raised image, it removes the top of the paper so that you can see that white core underneath.
Okay.
So that's another great look.
Okay. Now, here is another. This is also using the simple roses. And this is a very different because look at that background. This has got a variegated color background.
It does.
And so there's another technique for that.
There's another technique for that, using a brayer. So here's what a brayer looks like. So we're going to use a brayer. We're going to use two different inks. The distress inks, I have wild honey and peacock feathers.
And it looks like on this one, do you think there was a green or is it just the
No,
two?
there wasn't. They're going to be
Okay.
blended in the middle.
Okey-doke.
I've got the embossing folder. I've got a piece of cardstock ready to go.
And actually, just one other thing while you're right there. I think that ours are one of the very few embossing folders that have the silk screening on top. And what that means, it's just it's easier to see when you've got when you end up
Right.
getting several of these, it's just a lot easier to tell which is which.
That's invaluable,
Yeah.
really.
And-
Because every time you open it up, you're trying to figure out
one?
which is the side. Now, I know that when I see that black side, I know that when I put my piece of cardstock in there, then the raised part, the impressed part of each of those individual roses is going to be on the top side because that's the
okay.
side. If I want it to be debossed, then this is the side that's going to have the debossing side done. So what I'm going to start with is I'm not actually going to apply the ink to the cardstock. I'm going to apply the ink to the embossing folder. And I'm going to put it on the side, on that side that has the black on there, because I want it to be in the background of my paper, and I'll show you how that's going to work. I open up both of the Distress inks, and then I'm going to Brayer ink on one half of it. About one half of it.
So you're putting honey on the top.
Right, wild honey right on the top of it. I'm looking at it. I'm looking at the glossiness of the brayer to make sure that I'm getting the ink all over it. And then I'm going to put peacock feathers on the bottom half. It's okay if it crosses over just a little bit on the center. Then I'm going to brayer my folder right in the center. I'm going to do this where you can see it right in the center. You can see how that applies, and you can already see that green right in the center.
That's neat.
It is neat. Okay, now I'm going to put my cardstock in there. Fold it over.
Let me scoot this away from
Right,
you.
I've got my big shot here. I'm going to go ahead and, I have to make sure that I follow the directions to put it on the correct platform. And I need my cutting pieces, which I didn't get ready. Sorry about that. Has to be 2 of those cutting pieces, one there and one on top. And then I'm going to run it through. No, come on. Oh, this way.
Other way.
All right. And when we pull that out, pull out the embossing folder. And there we go. And I think with just that little bit of extra time that I took to grab things because I wasn't, then some of the ink may have dried a little bit. If you do it, you don't have to be super quick about it, but just quick enough.
Well, I'm just going to turn it the way that this card is so you can see that that's exactly what you get. So the ink is going to stay on the recessed area, but you're still going to get the white cardstock embossing on top. So very, very easy technique to do.
It is an easy technique. I like the fact that because you're brayering the folder, then it's going to transfer the ink, and so you've still got those little white roses.
Yeah, looks great. Okay, and on the inside, this is the other side. Now, if you had taken that roller and done it on the opposite side, so not the silkscreen side.
Right. So as I run my fingers on there, I can feel those roses sitting up, and that would be the side I would run it on to get this effect.
Right, and let's get in really close so that you can see, because it just isn't that neat. So again, the white is really showing, and the color is in the debossed areas. So neato.
They're so versatile. There's so many different ways of using them.
And it was just exhausting to do. Now we're going to move into the frame. And this is the flower frame. And as you can see, this is cardstock that was done. And what I like about the frames is just that it creates an area that you can then have your focal in the center.
Right. It's easy to get that focal in the center, not worry about covering up those embossed areas. This one was actually inked just lightly on the top of the embossed image with StazOn.
Yeah, and it was the white, so it's a little hard to see with white on yellow, but in person there's just a slight difference. But it's just a beautiful, beautiful look. And if you think this might look somewhat familiar, we did take our card toppers, some of that art, and modify it and turn them into embossing folders. So that was just a really nice way to do it. Now, here is a very striking look. And you can tell by that shimmer that that is perfect pearls.
It is perfect pearls. And so the embossed image was inked with, well, I'm just going to show you.
You're going to show us? Okay.
Yeah. The embossed image is inked with the perfect medium that comes with the perfect pearls.
Right.
These are the metallics, perfect pearls, and it comes with the perfect medium. It's very similar to Versamark. And what you're going to do is, while you could take that and just swipe it across the embossed image that's on that cardstock already, I'm going to use the Brayer, just so hopefully I will only hit those raised images. So I'm going to ink
Is this the
up.
brayer that you cleaned off? Or
This is a different
Oh,
brayer.
okay, just checking.
Back and forth until I get that perfect medium all the way across, and it'll stay, it won't dry too quickly, it'll be just fine. Just want to make sure that I've got it everywhere I need it. Yeah, that looks like it's all over it. And then I'm going to brayer those images.
And I guess what the brayer does is it keeps it just on the tops of the pieces
Right.
of the art.
One thing about using this, doing this on the frame with that large area in the center, there's a little bit more opportunity for the Versamark to get on that center
Opportunity
image.
to mess it up. Is that what you're saying,
So
Gail?
you can put Post-it notes on the center area. I'm just going to do one part at a time.
Okay.
Here, let's see. I want it to be drying.
Now you have
while
the
I'm-
metallic perfect pearls.
Metallic Perfect Pearls. This is the gold. I'm just going to take a little bit of it and start
And
applying
if
it
you're not
directly
familiar
on.
with the perfect pearls, the perfect medium and the paintbrush, that all comes together.
Right.
with the
They
four
actually
pots.
comes with two paintbrushes, one fine detail like this and one wider for removing excess perfect pearls. I'm just going over the whole image, but you can go over small parts at a time with different colors. But you can see how it's picking up, it's staying on there. I'm going to take the larger brush and sort of remove the excess.
So you don't do it like embossing powder and dump a whole bunch. You just
Right.
lightly brush
Right.
it on, and it
Because-
will be attracted.
Right, and if it can sort of tend to stick to the background a little bit. That can usually be just kind of scratched off. But there it is. It picks that up.
Now that one you've done gold, right?
Right, that's gold.
I love the luster that it gives. Now this one is a mixture of the copper and the silver, I believe.
Right, you can direct the different colors to whatever area you need it on and then just brush it away when you're all done.
Now this one also has the edge cut out. So as you can see, you generally put a rectangle of cardstock in.
Right.
But this was just trimmed right along the edge of that frame.
And that's
just
easy to follow. That frame has just got a nice big border around the edge to
And
follow.
on the inside, look what they did. They cut out the flower that is right here and used that as an embellishment. So nice thinking. So your embossing folders can provide lots of things. Now, this next one, I think this is pretty spectacular.
Isn't that beautiful?
Okay, this has been embossed on the silver linen specialty paper, and this is a
Pretty heavyweight
yeah.
cardstock. It works on specialty papers of all kinds that we have
Does.
just very well.
And then this has been colored in with the Spectrum Noir pens, right?
Well, it has, but first we used the Surfaces ink pad.
Okay.
This is the black Surfaces ink pad. It's similar to a StazOn. It goes on lots of different surfaces. It dries quickly.
Just wanted you to see that this has been. Can I open that for you?
Yeah, it's a it's a real tight fit to keep it from drying out.
Gail's had hand surgery, so we're treating her extra specially.
Still working on opening things, but it's getting better. So anyway, you just swipe this on the top there. You want to get just the surfaces of those raised surfaces. Can you see where I'm? Okay. And just rub it back and forth a little bit till it picks it up nicely. And there you go. And you can do that all over. I'm just going to do it in this one corner to show you what we're going to work on. But that gets the top, and it really makes that image stand out.
Kind of makes an outline, if you will.
It does. You know, it could be used just like that. You don't have to do anything more to it if you don't want to.
Right. And you're looking for the lid,
Yeah.
aren't you? Okay.
Yeah.
And then going into the Spectrum Noir, and you've chosen the purples and the greens.
The purples and the greens, these are what Susan chose to go on them. These are great sets. They come in 6 in a pack, and so you can the different color values, or you can get the big sets. But I have one color from each of those. I have LV2 from the purple and DG4 from the green, and then you can just start coloring in. And it works on the linen paper. It works just fine. It just kind of gives you a pale look if you go back and forth.
And that's because these are done with alcohol inks, so they're going to go on slick surfaces, so it just gives you more opportunity. Now, you certainly could do the blending if you wanted to change the colors, but in this case, we've decided just to go, or Susan decided just to go with the straight color as it comes out of the pen.
Sure. One of the, I mean, since you've got all of those purples, you could choose a darker purple and then go around the edges to get a little bit of a shading.
Or go over it a second time. And then she has also used the black jewel dazzles into the center of the flowers.
That's just perfect.
And again, she cut out around the edge and she's matted it on some of the papers there. And just a beautiful look. And on the inside, again, she just used one of the flowers and just cut out, leaving a little bit of a mat of the silver linen. So easy to do and just a spectacular look.
And there's that hint again. If you're going to run one, run two, and then you'll have extra.
Right. Now this is a different look, and this time the embossing folders were run through multiple colors of cardstock.
Right. I'm not going to show you all how that was done, but I do want to at least show you for visual purposes. So it was run through the machine 4 times on 4 different papers from the Little Posies paper pack.
Okay.
A green.
So these are printed papers.
Right, printed papers, a green, a teal, a red, and an orange. And then using a stylus like this, inks were applied, fluid chalk inks, the colors that actually, distress inks, excuse me, that were that matched the papers. So there was a teal, that's like peacock feathers. Mowed lawn was run across that one, just on the raised images.
But you could use the chalk inks.
You could use the chalk inks. The colors of the distress paints sort of match these colors really well. And then when you're done, you cut out each of those images individually and
you
stack
paper piece them.
And paper piece them back onto the green base.
Very interesting. It also looks like the mowed lawn distress ink pad was kind of hit along the edges
around
of it.
the edges as well.
And then the embellies that go with the Pretty Little Posies were added as extras. So a very different look. And I have not ever seen paper piece
I haven't seen
embossing
that.
folders.
It was a really good idea.
And again, on the inside, another one was placed right there. And this is one of the embellies. So just a really different look. So you're getting the idea that there are 5 million things that you could do with these.
Multiple opportunities and ways of using them.
Now we're going to go to our dandelion, our focal. And so question might be, okay, now I see how you can do the overall and I get the idea of the frame, but what about something so distinctive? And this is we wanted to make sure that our scrapbookers get the opportunity to see this.
Right.
So this has been done on the black cardstock.
The black cardstock. And at first I thought it was the Stays On cotton white, but it's not. It was done with chalks.
Oh.
So this is a white chalk that's just been brushed over after it was embossed on black cardstock.
And we really did that for the camera because I think Lene did this. And she just had it with the black. And I was just a little concerned that it may not show on camera.
Right.
So you could just do it the black on black. Now let's look at the top
because this is a 12-inch long piece of craft paper. And how do you get that embossing folder to work that way? Well, what you're going to do is you're going to put the folder on one end of your piece and you're going to run it through the embossing machine. Then you're going to move the folder over, do it again, move the folder over, do it again. So in this case, it was done 3 times to get the full length.
Yeah, none of the platforms are wide enough to take a 12-inch. That would just take too much pressure. But you can run them through multiple times. And this was on one piece of cardstock, right?
Craft
paper. Yeah. Okay. So there you go. And then it was hit with a black ink pad.
With a black ink pad, just along the top.
So very, very nice.
Yeah,
and by the way, there are 2 pages and a little bit of journaling. Very nice.
So perfect for scrapbooking just as well.
And I love the title of this, Wish Come True.
Isn't that great?
They've got their house and they're all set with that young family.
It's a very nice layout.
Now, here's another thing, and this is using acetate. Now, we're in the bundle, you're going to get an acetate. It has words at the top. You can use those, certainly. Scrapbooking, card making, very fun. But you have all of this left, and look at what can be done.
Right, so just set a piece of acetate in the folder and run it through. And when it comes out, it doesn't look like that. Let me show you if you can see this. Yeah. It looks like this. So this is acetate that has been run through and it's embossed on there. But if you want that to show up a little bit more, then you just hit the back of it.
Right, the back of it with the white ink pad. So with the Stays On white is what we use. So just rub it onto the back, and then it's going to give a little more.
I think in this case, a stylus was used just so you can direct the color right where you want it.
And then this glittering that you're seeing are the silver jewel dazzles that were placed along the wishes.
It's just a perfect little touch with all the little seeds blowing off and on some of the scroll
all your
work.
wishes. And then in the inside, just some stamping's been going on. Now, this is the card that is on the back of the package. And this has been done a couple of different ways.
This has been done with watercolor pencils. So it was actually, first the pencils were used, I think the greens or the green and blue pack, and they were just colored on with the pencil on all the individual parts of it. But then a wet brush, not too wet, just kind of damp, was run over to blend the colors a little bit.
And there again, we have some of the dazzles. And I thought it was fun to have the dazzle wish on the center of it.
The center of
This is a happy birthday, and there's no inside. Now, wanting to do that silver linen, and look at this.
That's beautiful.
Just gorgeous. Now, again, we did Spectrum Noir pens, but
you can also use smooch inks. So use smooch inks. Here I have Luscious Lime, I can't remember, Bayside, Sugarberry, and they glide over that linen paper and on top of those images very easy. So spend a little time combining some of the colors to get a different look there.
And our fairy is the Fairy Dazzles.
Isn't that great?
Yes.
I love how it's actually going off the page, so you would cut the edge just a little bit, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
And then this is also the Black Jewel Dazzle borders down at the bottom. So just a really nice look. Now, I asked you to stay tuned to the very end, and I don't want to get too personal with you, but we're going to talk toilet paper. Single ply, double ply, it's up to you. But what Lene has told me is that you can take a look, you can use an embossing folder and make a look that is very much like handmade paper. So we have done testing on this.
Right.
And just so that you know, you can use toilet paper that even has an embossed design.
Right.
So that's okay. You do want to separate the plies. So if you use single-sided, just one
Single ply.
you don't need to do anything with that. If you've got double ply like this, you will separate the plies, just pull them apart.
Right. And then you use 2 squares at a time for each?
Well, you want to have enough space to do your embossing folder. So if you've got, again, personal preference. So it's just feeling like a Charmin commercial, isn't it? So you want to have 6 layers. And we're going to get the embossing folder. We decided to use this one. And we're going to place the our special paper right there.
Our 6 layers, single ply layers of toilet paper in there.
And then we're going to spritz them. And you don't want it sopping wet, but you do want it lightly moist. So I'm going to do this. And this is just, oh, look, it bubbles up.
Yeah.
And so there you go. We're going to close our folder.
Right.
And then we're going to put it through.
So I have the machine here.
And then, of course, you will want to let it dry.
I want to set it between those
And you can talk to yourself when you're doing it. Does that help?
Hey, am I talking to me? I'm talking to everybody. Okay, and then we run it through the machine.
Right. And voila. Okay.
Got it?
Yep.
All right.
So I'm going to hand that to you.
Okay.
And then you're going to let it dry. Now you can lift it out.
So normally, would you let it dry with the folder in place?
You can, if you don't want to have water squishing out of it.
Right.
Isn't that pretty? It's just as amazing to me.
It is beautiful. And it's squished together. It's sort of like making paper again. You're making one layer of paper now.
Now, if you wanted to, you could, how handmade paper is kind of torn at the edges?
Tear the edges.
So you could do that. You might want to do it when it's dry as opposed to when it's wet, like I'm doing it. Only because that way you can control the tear. Right. I'm going to stop doing this.
You get the idea.
But you can get that edge.
What does it look like on the other side?
It's debossed.
Debossed on the other side. So beautiful. I can
very
see now.
good.
See, I might not want to run an ink pad across that because it's so absorbent. I'd be a little worried, but I would spray that with like a Dilutions or Glimmer
it
Mist.
would really absorb.
Oh
yes.
yeah, after it's dry. That would
So I just want you to know that we do exhaustive testing to make sure that you have all the information, and no, we won't be selling toilet paper. You're on your own for getting that. Thanks for joining us.
have fun.
Before I forget, I just wanted to tell you, the reason we can have so many techniques is because of the Embossing Folders, Premier Embossing Folders Personal Shopper. And what that means is every other month, members get 2 embossing folders, and they get a newsletter with ideas. And the ideas are, actually, all of these came from the Personal Shopper.
We show you in that Personal Shopper the techniques in detail of how we've done a lot of these projects, and Personal Shopper members get all that first.
And yeah, they get it before anyone else on the planet. So if that's of interest to you and you'd love to get presents every other month, go to paperwishes.com, go over on the right-hand side, look at Personal Shopper, and it'll give you all the information. Just wanted you to know.
5, 4, 3.
Because I'm right.
She's always right. Our craft supplies are Microsoft Excel,
Paper clips. This is jewelry by Diego.
Post-it notes,
Mine.
and binder clips. The focus of today's webisode.
Here at Paper Wishes, we love to come up with fresh ideas to inspire your creative spirit.
But hang on there. That's true.